Oh yeah, we're back with another One Piece banger, but it's a very tragic one as I'm covering the 3 recent episodes, which the last 2 involves Kuma's backstory. And speaking of that, I put up a poll for the most tragic backstory between Robin, Sanji, Law, and Kuma, and to my surprise, it was very one-sided. Now, you know I'm not gonna hold you, I'ma say it, I felt like it was recency bias, but then I thought about it and I can see where y'all coming from. Though I personally believe that Robin had it worse given that everyone else got out their situation much earlier. As for Robin, who after leaving Ohata as a child had to constantly be on the move as she had a bounty placed on her head by the world government, causing her to face constant danger and live a life of isolation and deception, being unable to trust anyone for 20 years until she finally became free at the age of 28 thanks to the Straw Hats in game. But that's just me. Now grab your golden Oreos and pink lemonade. Them shits fire. Now on with the heat. So the pacifistas were attacking the Navy soldiers. Meanwhile, Sanji and the gang were searching for Bonnie, who was hiding from the Navy until Admiral Pomsky tried to be Sneak Nation certified, but to no avail. So the Navy soldiers pulled up firing at Bonnie, but Bonnie is too smooth with it as she fires back using her ability, playing mind games on the Navy soldier, making him believe that his body is decaying. And I'ma let this be known, Bonnie really cold with whatever weapon she picks up. We've already seen the potential she has to be a dual swordsman, now she's going crazy with a gun. But yeah, as Bonnie's on the run, Vice Admiral Bluegrass pulled up on the back of a pacifista using her ability to control anything she rides. So the pacifista was preparing to fire a light beam as Bonnie's stun locked, cause she can only think of her father as she stared down the pacifista. And she nearly gets boomed until Sanji pulled up for the save. And Sanji's like, I understand Kuma's your father, but you gotta lock in and accept that those things are not him. But Pomsky back on Sneak Nation timing, and that chin is crazy. So as Sanji starts to escape with Bonnie, more pacifistas pulled up just in time with the assist. Meanwhile, Vegapunk pulled up whipping the V and the gang makes their escape. And panning on the other side of things, the gang starts to go on the move as Stussy decides to stay back. Now look at this nigga Saturn taking his precious time getting out that chair, bro, trying too hard to remain mysterious. Like, who you feeling like? And panning on the other side of things, Zoro's still in the mix with Rob Lucci. Now I don't want to start a war in the comments, so don't take what I say to heart. Now you see, I'm a Zoro fan, but if you ask me, Sanji would have ended this fight a long time ago. All bias aside, does anyone else agree? And panning on the other side of things, this man Luffy is so fast he playing around emoting in the middle of getting spammed by light speed attacks. Like, who else is doing that? Meanwhile, Kizaru trying to reason with bro, but Luffy do not care. And on the other side, Lucci's hyped as shit telling Zoro they're cooked. But Zoro is not stressing bro. And Kizaru's done spending time on Luffy and tries to end things, but Luffy's steady playing around bro's speed. But suddenly things starts to take a dark turn as this man Saturn flex his aura had niggas stopping their actions, even the water stopped moving. Along with the sky changing, then we see the summoning circle on the ground which Saturn starts to appear for him, and as he does, he's now in a transformed state as a giant spider centaur with horns. And immediately after spawning, he popped one of the Navy soldiers in the head for calling him a monster. Meanwhile, Kizaru's in the air attempting to snipe Vegapunk, but Vegapunk whips out the way. And as they're falling, Luffy pulls up, which Frankie tells Luffy to save them. But as Luffy tries, Kizaru attempts to put a stop to him. So Luffy's like, I got an idea, let me go ahead and pack you up real quick. That nigga Kizaru felt like he was Weave Nation certified. But an attack is never over with Luffy, he's always hitting niggas with a setup, as his arm hit a U-turn, smacking Kizaru right in his dome with a white star gun. Meanwhile, Saturn's spectating, seeing Luffy as the god he is, as Luffy sends Kizaru crashing into a building before reaching his limit. And with that, the gang crashes to the ground. So Saturn pulls up, which Bonnie peeps and starts to recall the memories she saw when looking into her dad Kuma's memories, which shows Saturn being the one who gave Vegapunk the order to turn her dad into a cyborg, stripping him of his free will. So Bonnie pulled up, wasting no time stabbing Saturn in the chest. And I like how Bonnie's always able to find a weapon no matter where she's located. Then Navy soldiers along with Vice Admiral Doderman, who was glazing Saturn with maximum efficiency, pulled up talking about some, how dare you touch my leash. Other niggas like, he's one of the highest authorities in the world. Like, hop off dick, bro. And look at this nigga's beard, shit looks like a long strip of bacon. So they all ready their weapons, but Saturn's not with the glazing and told them niggas to silence, cause if he wanted to not get hit, he would have avoided her attack. And so he hits Bonnie with this eye ability and now has a hold of her. But Sanji's like, oh nah, nigga, get your filthy hands off of her. But Saturn put bro on his ass immediately, then healed his wound in an instant. So the Navy soldiers tried to round him up, but Saturn said, wait you peasants, there's no need to rush. All them niggas was obedient as hell. And Saturn was on Kizaru's head for working so sluggishly, which Kizaru apologized and letting Saturn know that he's unable to move at the moment. So Saturn tries to boom Luffy, but Frankie hits Luffy with a strong right to get him out the way, going for the save, and was like, damn, even the man on top of the world wants our captain's head. That's how you know lil bro a big stepper. Then Saturn started talking mad crazy. I'm talking on some Maru Uchiha type level of disrespect. Bro's like, who should I exterminate first? Name them in order of who you will grieve least to most. If that's not one of the coldest lines in villain history, then I don't know what is. Bro out here giving niggas option to create a list before he starts packing niggas up. And so he lets them know that he wants them to regret ever starting a rebellion against the world government. So he forces Luffy out Frankie's clutches, then starts to squeeze Bonnie and prevented the others from moving using some binding ability. And tells Bonnie about her father Kuma, who was born into a slave caste as he was a descendant of a clan who committed a grave crime. And how he's the sole survivor of the extinct Buccaneer people. Meanwhile, the Navy soldiers aim their weapons at Bonnie. And that's when Bonnie starts thinking about her father, who tells her about Nika, the warrior of liberation. But suddenly passes out and we get hit with one of the saddest backstories in anime, as we see a flashback of 47 years ago when Kuma was born. And skipping 4 years later, things starts to get wicked. So a doctor pulls up to Kuma's father's Clap's crib talking about some I'm sorry. And that right there is all you need to hear to know you finna get hoed. Nothing good could ever come from a doctor randomly apologizing. And so the doctor tells Clap that the government minions pulled up to the hospital, and that's when one of them kicked the doctor down. They pulled up deep as hell with one of them getting straight to the point, whipping out the blicky, telling them that they have to come with them. And that's when they chained the family, as Clap was begging them to set his family free, as they have nothing to do with why they're here, as he's the only one of Buccaneer blood. Then it passed to them enslaved, as poor Kuma smiling through it all, oblivious to what's going on. And as him and his mom were in perfect shape, the dad was going through it. So they all ended up getting separated, and Kuma was forced to do hard labor and whipped for needing a break. He was even threatened to be killed if he didn't stop crying. Mind you, he was only 4 at this time. Now, if you ain't hate the Celestials with a passion already, by the end of Kuma's backstory, you'll want to spit at your screen every time you see one pop up. But yeah, Clap and Kuma end up reuniting, but not without bad news, as he lets Kuma know that his mother is dead, and is now in heaven where she's better off, and tells Kuma to endure it as Nika the sun god will come and save him, which he puts a smile on his son's face as he tells him the story of Nika and how he'll set Kuma free. And as Clap's hitting that dance, Kuma starts to laugh with a big smile on his face, really cheered up. But damn, there's always a hating ass nigga around the corner, as one of the Celestials pulled up with that thing on him and killed Kuma's dad right in front of him, literally killing the mood. Man, I can't even count on my slaves with that jigaboo doing all that yapping. Good riddance. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse, buckle up, cause you're in for a long ride, as this is a story of a man who has one of the most tragic backstory in all of anime. And that's when we get introduced to God Valley, an island under the Celestials' authority where they hunt slaves for sport. So the king of the land tries standing on business, but that's when St. Figurlin Garland pulled up, cutting bro down, and stood there aura forming, risen up the two shorties in the back. Now this may be a hot take, but his color scheme was a lot better than the fan-made colored manga panels, cause this is not heat. He looked like he could have been Buggy's right-hand man. Oh, clown ending. But maybe it's just a fit, cause I see the visual with not wanting him to look exactly like Shanks, so the blonde hair and red eyes is a nice touch. Y'all let me know, do y'all feel the same way, or y'all rocking with this color scheme? But yeah, so Kuma makes his escape, meanwhile other slaves were sent to capture Kuma and bring him back. And that's when the goats of God Valley pulled up Ivankov and Guinea, who are also slaves, which they let them in on their plan to escape. Meanwhile, the game to hunt down the slaves is soon to commence, which is set up to where the 13 slaves introduced are rated super rare and are worth 10,000 points each. And there's also 150 rare slaves, and those who one-shot kill will earn a bonus, with prizes for the champion. Meanwhile, Saturn watches on as the slaves run for their lives, as the 200 world noble hunters will start the hunt in 1 hour. And panning on the other side of things, Kong was talking to Garp, trying to get him to pull up to God Valley, but that man Garp was chilling on vacation surrounded by baddies, not wanting to go until Garp mentioned Roger, and Garp was ready to go. Meanwhile, at Beehive, the Rocks pirates set sail, and back at God Valley, the game has now begun. So that's when Ivankov started setting the plan in motion, as he gets the sharkfishman to bite off his chains. Meanwhile, Guinea tapped in with the pirates and the Navy, providing them with information, but they haven't taken action yet, and the others are curious on what Guinea is doing, so she lets them know that she's manipulating information, as the prizes for the competition will be the key to their escape, as they hold 2 devil fruits, one being the strongest class, allowing the user to transform into a mythical azure dragon, and the other which enables the user to send others and themselves flying to a distant island called the Pawpaw fruit, which they plan on obtaining. But one of them don't have faith, so Guinea lets them know that 2 weeks ago she leaked information about the island to the outside, so soon pirates will be flooding the island in search for treasure, causing pandemonium. But that won't be enough in itself, as they need someone to attract the attention of the celestial dragons as a decoy. But no one was down, so Kuma, being a real nigga, stepped up, volunteering to do so since he's built different. And bro started spitting, talking about how he could survive longer than the others and that he'd rather not see anyone else die, which shocked Guinea and got Ivankov hyped. And with that, the Rocks pirates along with other ill-famed pirates are nearing God Valley. So the Rocks pirates pulled up on the island tough as hell, as Stussy looking bad as hell, a solid 10 out of 10, as she's laying on the shoulder of the big dog Whitebeard. Gloriosa looking bad as hell, a solid 10 out of 10. Shiki ready to get in the mix, Big Mom ready to light some up, Kaido looking nonchalant, and John is getting wasted. And the height difference between everyone in the crew is insane. And as the Celestials and the Navy were in a panic, the big dog Goldie Roger finally steps on the scene, followed by Dark King Rayleigh, Scopper Gabon, and the rest of his crew. Meanwhile, the Holy Knights was ready to stand on business. And as the Rocks pirates and the Roger pirates take action, that's when another big dog step on the scene. Monkey D Garp with Bogart right in front of the camera, aura forming in 4K as the rest of the Navy soldiers pull up with them, giving the other Navy soldiers immediate hope. And as the Celestials evacuate from all the chaos, Ivankov and Kuma had their hands on the devil fruits. But suddenly Big Mom came barging in, choking Ivankov as she takes hold of the devil fruit he had. And she tries to take Kuma, so Ivankov told bro to eat it, but Kuma was hesitant. So Ivankov told Kuma don't think, so Kuma takes off and eats the devil fruit. But unfortunately he ran into Saturn, and Saturn is pure evil. As they're having a conversation, Kuma's like, there's no point in being born if you're a slave from birth. If I got some type of power just like Nika, I want to save as many of these poor people as possible. But Saturn's like, that is why your people need to be eliminated. Meanwhile, the Rocks pirates and the Roger pirates are still in battle. And panning on the other side of things, Kuma, Ivankov, and Guinea managed to escape, along with Kuma managing to save over 500 others. So Ivankov went his separate ways from the gang. Meanwhile, Kuma and Guinea stayed on the island and started farming and selling wood, making money to afford food to eat. And as they were walking, deciding on what to eat, they stumbled across two kids who started throwing rocks at Kuma. So Guinea, with no hesitation, beat up the both of them. And Kuma removes their pain, and now they've made more friends. Now Kuma and Guinea is back at the crib enjoying their meals, and after they finish feasting, Guinea asks Kuma when did he become a slave, which Kuma's like when he was 4. Which Guinea's like, me too, with a big smile on her face. But Kuma's like, that's not something you say so cheerfully. And as Guinea continues to look out the window, she ends up crying, which Kuma ends up envisioning himself with his parents along with Guinea living a happy life. Until he heard Guinea crying for him, causing him to wake up to reality. And with that, he started crying as well. But Guinea states that she's happy as she was crying tears of joy as she believes she's finally free. And yeah, those are 3 most recent One Piece episodes in all its greatness. You already know these episodes are absolutely pure heat, a solid 10 out of 10 for me, cause One Piece never miss. Now, with that being said, if you made it this far, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. We moving. Also, I'm taking recommendations, bro, so hit the comments. And more heat on the way.